Why didn't Big date Samantha? Let's be honest. If there was one woman in Sex and the City who could get any man she wanted, it was Samantha Jones. She was fearless, glamorous, unapologetically sexual, the kind of woman who turned heads the second she walked into a room. Samantha didn't just date men, she collected them, like fabulous trophies of her own confidence. She was the one who always told the girls, "Honey, men aren't the main dish, they're the side salad." And yet, in 6 seasons of martinis, brunches, and late-night phone calls, there was one man Samantha never touched. Mr. Big, Carrie's Big. The man every storyline seemed to orbit around. Now, on the surface, that might not sound strange. After all, Big was Carrie's obsession, the main love story of the show. But when you think about it, isn't it just a little suspicious? Samantha flirted with nearly everyone in Manhattan. She slept with Wall Street bankers, artists, chefs, actors, moguls. And yet she never once went for the most eligible bachelor in Carrie's world. And here's the kicker. Samantha was the woman many viewers secretly fantasized about being. Bold, unashamed, living without apology. So the fact that she never crossed paths with Big, that's not just curious. It's downright provocative. So why didn't it happen? Was Samantha not interested? Was Big too scared of her? Or was it the writers protecting Carrie's storyline? That's what we're going to unravel, because sometimes the sexiest story is the one that never happened. Who's Big's type? To understand why Big and Samantha never happened, we first need to look at Big himself. Because Mr. Big wasn't just some random Manhattan bachelor. He was the show's ultimate male archetype. Wealthy, powerful, charming, and just a little bit unavailable. He was the man women chased, the one who never had to chase back. And when you look closely, Big definitely had a type. He didn't go for women who were loud or confrontational. He went for women who let him stay in control. Take Natasha, for example. She was Big's second wife, and on paper, she was perfect. Tall, young, elegant. She looked like she'd stepped out of a Ralph Lauren ad campaign. Natasha was polished, polite, and most importantly, safe. She wasn't the kind of woman who'd ever question Big's late nights or power games. She fit into his lifestyle like a sleek accessory. And then there was Carrie. Now Carrie was very different from Natasha. Messy, emotional, unpredictable. But the key with Carrie was this. She gave Big the upper hand. She was always the one waiting for his calls, analyzing his silences, desperate for his attention. With Carrie, Big got to be the center of the universe. He held the power because she let him. Think of it. Carrie staying up late to dissect a 2-minute phone call with Miranda, or agonizing when Big wouldn't introduce her as his girlfriend. She'd spiral for days over his mixed signals, only to come running the second he crooked a finger. That was the cycle. Carrie fed him her chaos, and Big fed on it. That's the common thread. Natasha and Carrie may have looked different on the outside, but deep down, they shared something important. They both needed Big, more than Big needed them. That was his sweet spot. That was what kept him comfortable. Because Big thrived on being wanted. He loved women who revolved around him, who let him decide when and how things happened. He was magnetic, yes. But he was also a control freak. Big liked being the one with the final say. And that's exactly where Samantha doesn't fit in. Why Samantha didn't fit. So let's put Samantha next to that pattern. Because if Big liked women who revolved around him, Samantha was the one woman in New York who refused to orbit around anyone. Samantha Jones was the true alpha of Sex and the City. She didn't chase men. She collected them. She didn't agonize over unanswered phone calls. She deleted them and moved on to the next number in her little black book. While Carrie was obsessing over Big's mixed signals, Samantha was ordering another round of Cosmos and setting up her next adventure. And this is where she clashed completely with Big's type. Big liked control. Samantha was control. She was the one who set the rules. She decided when it started and when it ended. If a man played games with her, she didn't cry. She laughed. Big's push and pull routine, the silent treatments, the mysterious disappearances, the breadcrumb phone calls, none of that would have worked on her. She would have shrugged, said next, and walked out the door in a brand new pair of heels. And that's the truth of it. Samantha wasn't built to be someone's Natasha, or even someone's Carrie. She wasn't waiting to be chosen. She was doing the choosing. She even said it herself in one of her most iconic lines. "I love you, but I love me more." That wasn't just a witty Samantha quip. It was her entire philosophy. And it's exactly why she never could have been Big's anything. Because to Big, love meant surrender. To Samantha, love meant staying Samantha. Now, imagine Big in that dynamic. For once in his life, he wouldn't be the one calling the shots. He'd be the one waiting by the phone, wondering why she hadn't called back. And let's be honest, Mr. Big's ego could never have survived that. There's also the storytelling side. Sex and the City was Carrie's show, not Samantha's. Big was Carrie's epic, messy, will they, won't they romance. If Big and Samantha had ever crossed that line, it would have stolen the entire narrative away from Carrie. Because let's face it, once Samantha Jones sets her sights on a man, Carrie Bradshaw doesn't stand a chance. So instead, the writers kept those worlds apart. Big stayed Carrie's obsession. Samantha stayed untouchable, the queen of her own kingdom. And that's why the idea of them together feels so tantalizing. Because we know if it had happened, the power balance of the entire series would have shifted forever. Now, what makes this even juicier is that Samantha and Big did share scenes together. They went to the same dinner parties, the same social events, the same Hamptons weekends. And yet, the writers never let the camera linger on them for long. If Samantha spoke to Big, it was breezy, almost dismissive, like she was chatting with just another man in the room. No sparkle, no tension, no slow pan across the table. Meanwhile, Carrie? Every look, every pause, every late-night phone call was framed like a grand romance or a grand disaster. Carrie could barely function around Big. He was her obsession. She even physically chased him. Remember the scenes of her running through the streets, tripping in her heels, desperately trying to catch up with him? Carrie was always in motion, always chasing. But Samantha? She never chased. Ever. No stilettos scuffed for a man. If he wanted her, fine. If not, she was already on to the next. That difference was everything. Big thrived on Carrie's chaos, but Samantha was chaos-proof. She wasn't addicted to him because she wasn't addicted to anyone. And we know this from the men she did fall for. Take Richard Wright, the hotel magnate. On paper, Richard was her big, older, wealthy, powerful. But within weeks, Samantha had flipped the script. Richard was sneaking into her office just to get her attention. And when he cheated, she called him out and walked away. Or Smith Jared, the young actor. Totally different from Big, but the pattern was the same. Samantha set the rules. She turned him into a star. She shaped his career. But she never lost herself in the process. Smith adored her, but Samantha stayed Samantha. Now imagine Big in either of those roles. Could you ever picture him chasing her down the street? Standing in a crowd just to get her attention? Absolutely not. That wasn't who he was, and that wasn't who she was willing to be with. Which is why their dynamic stayed what it was. Two powerful people in the same orbit, but never crossing paths. The tension was in the silence, in what we never saw. So, would Big and Samantha ever have worked? Honestly, no. The fantasy is intoxicating, sure. Two alphas, two predators circling each other across a smoky Manhattan bar. But reality? It would have burned out in a week. Big needed someone who gave him power. Samantha refused to give it. And that clash isn't a love story. It's a standoff. And maybe that's why the writers never went there. Because if Samantha and Big had hooked up, it would have overshadowed Carrie's entire storyline. The audience would have stopped caring about Carrie's heartbreak and started rooting for the ultimate forbidden fling instead. Keeping them apart was the only way to keep Big as Carrie's Big. In the end, Samantha and Big could never happen, because neither one of them was willing to surrender. Big wanted control, and Samantha was control. Their chemistry wasn't in a kiss or a fling or a scandal. It was in the fantasy of what might have been. And that's the guilty pleasure of it all. Sometimes the sexiest story is the one that stays just out of reach.